He is a researcher, an author, and a new Republican, also a contributor on Fox News. And he wrote a book. He authored a book called Jumping the Aisle, How I Became a Black Republican in the Age of Obama. So please welcome with me Mr. Oliver McGee. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, let me ask you a question quickly. Have you turned Republican, or you just feel like it's time for Republicans to come? Because hearing your stance on things and how you articulate it, it's far different from what I assumed, from what I was reading, from them quick clips. But I don't prejudge, but I kind of expected you to be kind of one way. But the way you're articulating your position, you know, it makes me see it differently. So are you really just turning straight Republican, or you just feel like it's time for a different train of thought?
It is a rational voice in 4 years of what I'm watching from the left and then to the right. An argument.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When I wrote the book, I turned off the television set for 4 years. I turned off the television set for 4 years to write the book, so that I could have time to think and come up with original ideas, my ideas. They may not be completely original, because I think there's nothing original in knowledge creation on the world, because it's a circle of knowledge.
True.
But I wanted to write something that was honest, that I felt comfortable with. And when Obama won, I went back and read my own book and said, is it still relevant? And I said, wow, it is. Except
you expected him to lose?
I just said, let me read my book, whoever wins or loses.
Okay, I got you.
So when I read my book the night of the election, when he won, I said it's still relevant, because when you look at Jumping the Aisle as a title, it's a play card for going forward. And when we look at the black community in particular, we have to be flexible and adaptable in how we deal with our social issues. We have to be flexible and adaptable in how we deal with technology and engage it and public understanding of it. We have to be flexible and adaptable when we deal with economics, about capital and competition. And we have to be flexible and adaptable at the policy-making table in Washington when we're looking at the politics.
Now, you say that, but you jumped over to the Republican side of the aisle, who is anything but, in my opinion, flexible and adaptable. You know, these guys, you know, these are the people who say that we're not going to raise taxes no matter what. We just won't entertain any kind of discussion about that. You know, these are people who want to take back the country to the 50s, you know, and you know, and go back to who are not welcoming of minority groups or are not flexible and adaptable to the changing times at all when it comes to birth control or health care, you know, how we deal with it. So why did you jump to that side of the aisle and not say to, you know, one of the other parties if you were jumping from the Democrats?
I was looking at the three pillars that I was articulating in the book with regards to capital formation. That's a supply-side economics perspective. And I started asking, when I looked at our cities, which are dying before our eyes, how many black bankers are in our cities? I just said, I started asking people, do you know a black banker? In our community. And people just said, no, I'm not sure I know that. So if we can't get the microloans or the macro loans to be able to start a small business, how are we controlling our own capital formation in our own communities? And I started going on U Street in Washington, and I went to Harlem in New York, and I went to the West End of Cincinnati, where I grew up. And I said, what happened to our neighborhoods of small businesses, thriving activities of our community, us in our community? I live in Washington, D.C., and I live in Foggy Bottom in Georgetown, and our people aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Have we been rented out?
And you attributed this to the Obama presidency?
No, I attribute it to the fact that we might have
Democratic Party.
We might have taken our portfolio and made it so balanced on just one side of the aisle. We forgot to jump on the other side so that when the country does go from demand side economics and political thinking to supply side economics and political thinking, are we at the table?
Okay.
I was a little concerned that if I jump to the right and may be conservative, will I be vilified? Why? You know, when you look at, Tanya, the basic black family, we're conservative. We're conservative in our money. We're conservative in how we raise our children. We're conservative in how we value education. We're conservative about how we look at some major social issues. We're
very true.
Our church, we are conservative about our church. And if you look at historical black colleges and universities in this nation, and I work at Howard University and teach at Howard University, inherently Howard University is a conservative institution. You know, it's not about change. Universities aren't about change, and particularly HBCUs. They're not about change. They're conservative. So why are we so leaning all completely clustered on the left side of the aisle? So when it jumps to the right, can we play? When I look at the history of Howard University through the Reagan years and the Bush years, those were some of the most financially solvent and lucrative years for Howard University, Republicans. When you look back at the history of black Republicans in forming this nation, it's a rich history. Martin Luther King was a black Republican.
But that was when the party he was a Republican, but that was when the party was a little bit more welcoming.
That's right. So why don't we change it? Instead of vilifying it, or instead of pushing it aside and pretend it doesn't exist, why don't we change it? Because when Obama's not on the ticket, what are we going to do?
Well, I think that but before Obama came, blacks were Democrats. So I would assume just like we did have some fat years with President Clinton. So, so when Obama leaves, we probably will still be Democrats. But there's no way, I think, that you're going to get black people to get behind people who think that they're our masters. I mean, yes, they might have, the same kind of conservative or the same kind of value system that we have at church or something or some social issues like you said. But there's no way we're going to get out there and work for Master when he has no respect for us. You listen to some of the things that Newt Gingrich said when he was on the campaign trail about minorities, particularly African Americans. Why would I want to go and help him in his efforts? And what makes me think that he understands me? One of the reasons why we've been Democrats, I would assume, I know with me for so long, is because I think that they understand me. They understand what it's like, to be from my community and the issues that I face. I would not have voted for Mitt Romney because he doesn't understand me. I don't think he could lead me if he doesn't know who I am. Or I don't think that there will be any kind of help. Not saying that I expect Obama to help me, but I do expect, them to understand where I'm coming from so that they can kind of, help in certain situations. I know that I did receive help with Obama, the thing that he did with the credit card companies and, how the banks used to charge you that $35 fee. As a struggling mother of a 14-year-old, that thing used to bother me like you'd never believe. I would rack up bank fees because I'm $1 off or $2 off over the weekend with my debit account, even though they would lend me money of my own money from my savings account and just move it over to my checking account, and he would charge me $35. Well, one of the things that I love about Mr. Obama is that he stopped that. He could do nothing else for me. That he stopped and saved me a bunch of money. But at least I know that he understands that. President Obama was the first president to say, that I ever heard of, say, my wife and I just paid off our student loans 2 years ago. So I know that he would know something about student loans so that was something he would change. He wouldn't have to hear it. Mr. Romney never had a student loan. So I can't expect him to know how much of an anchor it is around your neck when you're working, making a little bit of money when you first come out of college, and you have to pay these things for 20 and 30 years. So I think that when Mr. Obama leaves, I think that as long as the Democratic Party is still, in our neighborhoods, so to speak, then I think that they'll maintain it. Now, the Republican Party, who clearly says that they didn't care about African Americans, tried to disenfranchise the vote throughout this whole election period, and didn't care about the Hispanics. When they think of Hispanics, they think immigrants, and they think of deportation, Mr. Romney, self-deportation, or building fences and electrifying the fence and whatever that woman out in Arizona was thinking about, shaking them down if you see them and asking them for their paperwork, like the book I read years ago, Kaffir Boy. So I don't think until they can speak to us, I don't think we're going to go on that side of the aisle, sir. You think so? You think we should be over there?
I love your thesis. I was listening to every word you said, and in this way, you are right, but the key issue is this. The government will run out of money, and it will soon. We cannot tax our way to prosperity for all. We cannot overregulate everything to where we're so overregulated that we don't feel free to do anything. And when we're not free,
overregulated though.
I'm sorry.
You think, what has he increased regulation on? Banking? Is that what you're talking about?
What I'm trying in the book is to take it away from political personalities. Obama, Romney, Gingrich. These folks, when you speak to young people that I speak to, they're not talking about these folks. They're talking about folks that are going towards the future. Marco Rubio, Bobby Jindal. They're talking about, they're not talking about Joe Biden. They're not talking about Hillary Clinton. They're talking about who's the succession that's coming next in the Democratic Party for the next generation and the generation after next. That's really the political question that America has to answer in an evolving American electorate that is completely changing in the dynamics of demographic shifts. And those people are going to be thinking about looking for other sources of how to take care of their house, how to take care of the social issues that they're most concerned with, how to take care of their wallets and their pocketbooks. And more importantly, they're going to be very, very different political personalities, forms of leadership, executive judgment, like I was recently speaking about on CNN this past weekend, which involves different forms of empathy, asking the proper questions, and providing a new kind of service that is necessary for a very, very complex America and a very complex and dangerous world going forward. More importantly, Mother Nature is not going to cooperate. I'm debating right now on the website Deeyoon, D-E-E-Y-O-O-N. That is D-E-E-Y-O-N, D-E-E-Y-O-O-N, Deeyoon.com. And I'm debating with former FEMA director Michael Brown, who led Katrina.
Brownie? Yeah.
Yes. On can private industry play a role in disaster recovery? I'd like your listeners to go in there and see the debate for 10 minutes. It's actually going viral. It's now well over 1,800 views in just 6 days. We were talking about what is the role of Walmart and General Electric and General Motors in bringing supplies and goods and services and turning on lights and cleaning up after.
But as long as the CEOs of these companies are only worried about their golden parachute